would like the ship to go. Now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of Discussing Trek. I'm your host, Clarence, and of course, as always, I'm here with my friend Larry Irby. How you doing, Larry?
I am doing fine, sir. How about you?
I'm doing good, man. We didn't have an official episode last week, but I'm glad that we're getting back into the thick of it for what I feel is a very interesting episode. I can't wait to hear your thoughts, as well as maybe some of the rumblings of the internets, the interwebs that you've picked up on. I've stayed away from it all, so I don't know what's been going on. So you're gonna have to tell me. But first of all, let's go ahead and, since we didn't do an episode last week, do you have any thoughts you want to add on the Selat Who Ate Its Tail?
Yeah, it was actually I thought it was a solid episode. I will say the ship was ridiculous. It was just ridiculous. And I think had they done like a more believable ship and not something so silly looking, that episode, because that episode had a lot of really good themes, like what makes people who are good people turn into not good people.
Yes. I personally felt that like there was a lot of meat left on the bone, especially from within the ship. Within that ship, I felt like there was a lot to explore from other ships that have been trapped in this void space within this huge scavenger ship. I thought they could have explored that for a whole episode, probably. And also just the people. These, as I put it in my review, these post-World War III, I'm going to get the hell out of here humans. And, you know, just the idea of it seemingly not having run into any humans over the however many years they've been out here. It seems like an interesting concept that I kind of wish we had more bandwidth to explore a little bit more, but they kind of set a finality to it in this episode, unfortunately.
I wish they had actually made this a recurring thing. Like where this could be so, because then it would have hit harder had we dealt with these people for maybe an episode or two, swing them back around. Then when you get the tragedy at the end, and that was really hard hitting.
Indeed.
Like I said, the silliness of the ship and a few other things took away from it, that it was heart wrenching, because there were children on that ship. There was all, it was a lot. And I think I really loved seeing, and a credit to Paul, he, number one, I love that guy anyway. But as Kirk, he killed it.
Did he though?
I did love it, because I'm going to tell you why. I love his indecisiveness, but I love how when that ship was destroyed, it hit him. It hit him hard.
Oh, definitely. Definitely at that point. I almost feel like I had don't meet your heroes moment in a sense with that episode, because in TOS, we know Kirk as the I'm always sure of myself, know the right orders to deal out, know how to use my team effectively to get whatever I need to get done accomplished. So with me, it was a little disconnect for me, and it was kind of hard to watch him have to muddle through it in this episode. It was very hard.
Yeah, I like watching TOS as much as I did. I always felt that Kirk was a lot more like what McCoy said in one of the books. Somebody was talking about Kirk, and this is seemingly after Kirk had died. In Star Trek Generation, he says, you know what Jim did a lot? He says, fake it till you make it.
He tried to do it in this episode.
And that's why, for me, it rang true. I know you hadn't read the book, because it was kind of like he was saying, Jim, just like that episode with Picard and Beverly, where they're on that planet. And they realize they can hear each other. And she realized, like, hey, you don't know. You're not sure. You just
Yeah.
And it's like captains, they have to seem sure, but sometimes they're just as scared as the next person.
Yeah. And I really think it underlined the fact that it's a team effort. I mean, his crew trust him just as much as he trusts his crew. In this particular episode, we saw where Scotty was being basically an a-hole to the whole episode. And, Chapel throwing out mutiny for a little bit there. So they were as unsure about him as he was unsure about giving orders at that time.
I'm still a little mixed on Scotty. I hate to say it.
Oh, no.
I don't really
Martin Quinn, no.
I'm not feeling Scotty. There's no disrespect to the actor, but when I see him and I think, I just don't think of Scotty. I don't. I hate to say it, but the truth got to be told sometimes. That's just for me.
Yeah, I don't hate him. But definitely, I didn't like how they portrayed him in this particular episode because, I mean, he was just a jerk the whole time.
Well, he's young too.
That's
but
true.
I think he's got farther. Is where on the other series, Scotty. I always thought Scotty and Kirk were about the same age. In fact, I thought Scotty was probably a little bit older.
Yeah, let me say this. I think they did a good job of showing Scotty's growth a little bit in that episode because it made him, even over the course of this season, we've seen him going from, I have this idea, it making work, but he's getting pushed to do it better, do it further in that episode specifically. So I do like we get the beginnings of Scotty having to go beyond what he thinks he can do or what he says he can do and pull off a miracle, because that's kind of what we know him for.
Yeah, but all in all, it was an okay episode. It wasn't my favorite. Like I said, I think had they chosen a few more choices that were better, the ship and just the reveal when it was these people and finding out that there were other. I'm glad they weren't augments or nothing. So
yeah,
we don't want to get involved in that.
Yeah, and that's another thing. I love how this episode hit on those old Earth relic tropes that we've seen in almost every series that have always been really cool. So this is another instance of that. But yeah, I mean the fact that all these people died, we couldn't save anyone. Okay.
Yeah, I think it would have been almost better had they had survivors to. Hey, we can send you guys back to Earth. You wouldn't believe what it's like now.
Yeah, all of our utopian ideas that have changed the planet.
Or just the kids, at least. But that's all I got on that one.
Oh, yeah, I like what Wingray said here. He said he wanted to dislike this Kirk at the start, but he really grew into it. Yeah, I think I like Paul Wesley mostly over the course of these few seasons. But Scotty, not so much, as we said before. He's growing on us, though. He's growing on us. So let's get into this week's episode 7 of this season, man. And they pose a very big question: what the is Starfleet?
Yep.
Oh man, what is Starfleet? The logline reads: while aiding a war-torn planet, Pike and crew face scrutiny from a probing journalist. That journalist being Umberto Ortegas.
Mm-hmm.
As Winggrace calls him, Brotegas. Or Beto, he's got a bunch of names. Yeah, man, this episode was very interesting. And a few weeks ago, we talked about big swing versus gimmick. And they're always towing that line. And I don't know how I feel about this one because it feels very gimmicky. But it's basically equates to a documentary of the events of what happens in this episode, as well as, directed and I guess written and everything by Brotegas. What is your overall thoughts of what is Starfleet?
Like, as far as me?
Yeah, overall thoughts, man.
I mean, my overall thoughts is Starfleet is a body of Earth that goes out to explore in the Federation, and it goes out to explore the universe, to meet new life. And now let's be real, a bit realistic what it is. Because we've argued over this for years in Trek fandom.
Yeah. Yeah.
People's like, oh, Starfleet's not a military.
Yeah, basically
Really?
It basically is the military.
You're a military if you have weapons, and you also have ranks.
Yes, paramilitary.
You have a rank hierarchy. You are military. Okay?
Yeah.
But, I mean, whatever. But their primary goal is exploration. But as Ortega said, we will defend ourselves if we need to. But we already discussed this once before. Somebody said it in an episode, and they said it better than I could say it. I forget what episode. He says, the Federation is just like every other power. They want to expand their sphere of influence, only instead of using weapons, they use diplomacy, but their intent is the same.
Oh, man. This episode poses so many interesting questions, man. It's a thin line to walk, actually. And, when I think of Starfleet, I like to think of it as being black and white. But I think this episode proves that it's anything but. If somebody was coming to you and saying, oh, we have this organization, they're the best of everything, utopian ideas, we'll change the world, cure hunger, cure disease, all these other good things that are almost too good to be true, except they've accomplished them in this universe for the most part. I can see how there would be a generation of people that, like baby Ortegas, baby bro Ortegas, that may come up and be like, yo, is this everything that they're saying it is? Any organization has the potential, and I think that it kind of goes to what we get the ultimate resolution of this episode to be. The people are Starfleet, but any organization can have its bad actors. And I think this episode does a pretty decent job of raising all those questions that any up-and-coming young person might have about this organization that's pretty much looked at as the greatest thing ever, because it just seems too good to be true. And most things are. So I don't blame Ortegas in that aspect.
And we know it's too good to be true. We know both from Discovery, which if we're going outside real world, we know that was influenced. Deep Space Nine went where no one went before. They just really looked, and even on Next Gen, when we had the crazy admirals, who wanted to do things, and Picard and crew had to shut them down. But we know that the Federation, they're a government, and governments do shady things, plain and simple. Ain't no other way to put it.
Yeah,
like, hey, let's help these guys out. But should we be helping them against this other group? You have your orders.
Yeah, what's the geopolitical move here that's causing you to help this other group of people? You know?
And the greatest thing, we never did find out why.
No, we didn't. And I really love how this episode, it shows us, in the normal course of the normal show, we don't see them question orders. We see them question orders, but we don't see the nuances of an order being kind of played out. Because in this episode, we got a good look at, the order comes in. Uhura is like, oh, well, that sounds strange. Ortega's like, oh, man, they're in bed with the Klingons. We get all these little snippets of the conversation that we don't normally get. So that's one of the things I appreciated about this episode, being a documentary. We could talk about that. But I love that it gave us an entirely different view on a lot of things that go on over the course of a mission that we kind of just don't have bandwidth to get to in a normal episode.
I will say this, as far as per the episode itself, they could have done a lot of things better as far as him getting footage, because there's no way he's going to have a camera in Pike's ready room filming without Pike knowing it. I thought that was silly. Like you could,
hey, he was putting up hidden cams everywhere, man.
Hey, what you could have done better than that was just like First Duty. Was it First Duty or Lower Decks? like Lower Decks was the perfect one. I'm not talking about Lower Decks the series. I'm talking about the episode from TNG, where they basically was just like, I don't know what's going on. You know what's going on? I don't know what's going on. They just got the orders when they came to it. It should have been just like that. Like, you could never had to show Pike and number one talking.
Yeah.
All they knew is what they told them.
Yeah. I mean, some of the parts of the episode were clumsy, but I kind of appreciate it for the fact that how hard it would be to paste together a whole episode if it's just like a full documentary, because the camera can't be everywhere. Ortegas can't be everywhere on the ship. I mean, we use security footage, we use and things like that to help tell the story. But there were obviously scenes where you're like, oh well, there wouldn't be a camera there normally. And yeah, those scenes when they were listening in, that was kind of just wrong. Which, I mean, I think it goes to the episode. This is a hit piece. This is a hit piece, and we know that Ortegas is there. Bro Ortegas is there to try to shine a light on the bad things of Starfleet, and he's doing hidden cameras. He's doing everything. So I can see that in the context of the episode being something he would do.
Yeah, and every government, every organization, should be questioned. They should have their foot. Yeah. Well, why are you doing this? Are you doing this for a good reason? But I will say, in the context of what they were saying, I'll use a real life friend of mine. When he's questioning Pike, have you ever seen somebody die? I have friends who have been in combat, and I would never ask anybody that. I have never once asked them that question, because that's a question for somebody to ask who is clueless. That if somebody goes and they do their duty, and they see death, or they even may have taken life, that's something that person doesn't want to discuss with you.
Yeah.
And only someone. It showed just how naive he was.
Yeah. He was naivety on his part. Yeah. Which was part of the thing that made it interesting to me. I don't know. Let's pick up a few comments, then we'll move on with the story. Wanda M is saying that Strange New Worlds was walking the tightrope with this episode. It seemed uneven at times, but the storyline with the beautiful creature was truly a Trek story. Yeah, we're going to get to that, because I really think it ended up being a very well-told Trek story that probably couldn't have stood on its own, but this stuff around it, made it a little bit more interesting. Now, you're going to have to help me out with this comment here from Wingrace. The Makos, who were literally soldiers, were absorbed into Starfleet. So doesn't this kind of make them some military by transitive property? If the Air Force joins Amazon, are they a military?
What he's talking about is in Enterprise, the Makos who were on the ship, who were the detachment, which they got after the attack on Earth happened. And the Makos later were absorbed in, because that's what Idris Elba's character was in Star Trek, the third movie.
Beyond.
Yeah, that's what he was, a former Mako who was then made a starship captain. So they were absorbed, and that's why they were talking about the Makos were absorbed into Starfleet.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, just looking at it, with just not even knowing much about the organization itself. If you see the way it's structured, you see the way it's ran, which, you could arguably say that's just a good way to run a unit or an organization, but it's ran like a military. It's definitely ran like a military in all aspects. So I want to get to some of these questions that Beto poses, though, which I think were interesting, truthful in a lot of ways. And I think the line of questioning here is what made the episode good to me in a lot of ways, where, it comes out like a straight up hit piece. What separates the Federation from an empire? Are they explorers as they claim, or are they soldiers as they appear? What distinguishes a starship from a warship? And with these, we have additional information like the complemental weapons and stuff that's on the starship. And with each of these interviews as well, we get like these nuggets of information with on-screen text that kind of explains a little bit what's going on. But I think these are great questions, because it's a thin line, right? It's you can really quickly go in the other direction if the people aren't willing to try to adhere to the utopian ideas that the organization is kind of founded on.
It's all about intent. It's all about intent. What do you intend to do? You may have these weapons at your disposal. You may have this insanely powerful starship, but what are you going to do with it? Are you going to try to take over a planet with it? Or are you going to take grain and supplies to a colony that's in need? Are you going to rescue people from a base? You know, are you going to fight only when you are fired upon?
Yeah.
So a lot of stuff is up in there. But like you said, you also have that side of Starfleet. You have every organization has that dark underbelly.
Yeah.
You know, because if they feel Section 31 was written into the charter of the Federation.
Yeah.
And what's that tell you?
Yeah.
It was written in that part where nobody in the small print. To explore new galaxies, to meet new people. Oh, and if we feel a threat, sometimes we might use genocide to kill. Okay, don't read that.
You know what I think what I like about what kind of the things they adhere to, you know, it's in the charter, is that although it seems like it's black and white, it seems like it can't be changed or moved. Mm-hmm. And this is one of the best things about Star Trek, actually, is that some of the best episodes is when those rules, when those general orders are challenged, when those are there's a gray area that they have to operate in sometimes. Now, most of the times we hope they're operating in the gray area out of a sense of we're trying to do the right thing. Of course, it can go wrong if they're doing that to do the wrong thing, but when they're operating in a gray area, it makes some of the best episodes. And I think this episode even it further underlines that with the Jikaru and what they end up doing. They kind of didn't follow orders.
They didn't, and that is always going to be the excuse. I was only following orders. Well, they said, no, I'm not going to do that. You know, like we talked about with in DS9, where we're talking about the genocide, where they tried to take out the changelings with that virus, right? Yeah. But this was so Starfleet, so Star Trek down to its core. The fact that they find this creature and they want to try to do their utmost to talk to this creature, even putting themselves in harm's way to communicate with this creature. Man, come on. What's more Star Trek than that?
Yeah, I found it beautiful. Of course, Spock would be able to communicate, but also Uhura, our communications officer, is going out of her way to communicate with this being. And just the thought of, you know, we always talk about in Star Trek, the sentient being gets used for something is not meant to do, or in this case, genetically altered with a shock collar to be a weapon of mass destruction because they're getting their butts handed to them in this war. And just those sheer numbers they show from that war, I think it was like 9 million versus a few 100,000 deaths.
Here's my question. The people who were trying to use the creature, were they the ones that had the most casualties, or was the other side?
They were the ones who had the most casualties. They had 9 million.
They felt like they had.
Yeah. Which, again, we're playing around in that gray area. They're getting wiped out, and this is the one weapon that could hopefully tip or tip the balance a little bit in their favor in this war. But, you know, there's one ship that is part of this bigger organization who has made the decision to let them get this weapon. You know, this one ship says, "Nah, it's a sentient life. We're just you're going to let it exercise its free will and, you know, and kill itself." So, yeah, you could play that a bunch of different ways. But I think again, going back to the people, ultimately they made the right decision, which is what you would hope they would do.
I'm going to read between the lines on this. I'm going to tell you, this had Section 31's footprints all over it. Do you not think it did? think of read between the lines here. All of a sudden, there's this war going on between these two factions. One faction is getting creamed, and the other faction says, "We have this weapon that can turn the tide." So something was going on. So you could see Section 31 going in there and saying, "Yeah, we need to help these people. We need to help them out."
Yeah.
But there's probably something in it for the Federation.
Yeah, seemingly. But
like maybe they're going to become a member down the line, which goes against what they said. They usually don't accept member worlds that are currently at conflict with another world.
Yeah, this whole story with the Jikaru, I think just was a beautiful story, man. Even the moment at the end was the sad moment when it flies into the sun. Just beautifully portrayed on screen and beautifully scripted. But yeah, this is one of those hard. Go ahead.
Remember the scientist that died?
Yeah. I wonder what was her point? Was she trying to stop the Jikaru?
Yes.
Okay.
She realized that what we're going to do is going to be just as bad as what's being done to us. Because remember, she said we were wrong.
Yeah.
So imagine if they had got it there and unleashed it on a population with no way to defend itself.
Yeah.
Because we truly know that this, and the one part I didn't like was Pike at the end.
Okay.
Because I thought you were right when I said that these were the people who are getting beat down. And he says, you don't want to make an enemy of the Federation. Should have said was like, we can find another way to help you. We can
taken out of context,
mediate this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Which that's a part that Beto put at the top of his documentary to make the Federation look pretty bad. So
yeah, because he's trying to save his people.
Yeah. Let's look at a few of these interviews real quick. I thought these interviews were pretty interesting. We have Pike explaining the Starfleet oath at the very beginning. We have Erica Ortegas giving the everyman's view of what Starfleet is. I just love how she was just like, bro, come on, man. We got to defend ourselves. Like you said earlier, you got to defend ourselves. And I just thought she was fabulous in this episode. There's Spock explaining his half human, half Vulcan existence. There's also La'an explaining why a chief security officer is needed on a ship of exploration. We have Uhura's support for the captain, but she's also like debating these orders. I really liked Uhura in this episode. I thought Celia Rose Gooding did a great job in this episode as well. And then you have Uhura also. You have number one also talking about orders. So yeah, I did miss. You had Uhura talking about the close friend that got killed on the Callega as well. Which, Beto, what are you doing, man? He is asking all these tough questions, which is what kind of the things I really appreciate about it. But also, if any single member of the crew came out looking bad in this episode, it had to be Mbenga. I think this might be the beginning of the end of the Mbenga as we know it, because he looked terrible. He looked terrible in this episode.
I love that when it said Mbenga redacted, special forces redacted.
He said he didn't fight in the Klingon War. I'm just a doctor. Have you ever scrubbed security cameras in the sick bay?
Okay.
No comment.
I'm gonna throw one on you here. I would have just lied and said no.
He did lie. He looked stupid.
No, when you say I can't remember.
Oh yeah, okay.
You pretty much just saying I did, but I'm not gonna tell you. I mean, you don't went this far. What's one more lie? You know what I mean?
And it's one of those things where if someone asks you the questions, they probably already know the answer. And he made him look so bad. Like, I didn't see combat in the Klingon War. No, I'm a lowly doctor.
Hey, I just put it like this. Mbenga is kind of like, and anybody out there who knows, they'll know this, but any Firefly fans will know this. Mbenga reminds me strongly of Shepard on Firefly.
Really?
Shepard is
I
just
don't
a
get that.
preacher. Well, they're different things. They're different doctors, but they're kind of laid back at least most of the time. And Shepard's just like, oh, I have to preach the word. And then all of a sudden you finding out that he's got all this clearance and all this. And they're like, who is this guy? Do we even know this? That's how they feel about M'Benga now. It's like,
Shep
do I know you at all, sir?
Shep was the man. Let's pick up a few comments here. One of them saying, I think DS9 explored the duality of Starfleet best. Yeah, I can definitely see that.
100%.
Wingray saying that he could have said no, but Himmer did. Go ask him. Oh, never mind. Oh, yeah, poor Himmer. Poor Himmer, man. But yeah, Beagle looked terrible. And they also posed some other questions that I really liked. They said, why is Starfleet so heavily armed? Which we kind of covered already. Why would you go out here and not defend yourself? As Ortega says. Now, La'an. Let's talk about La'an a little bit. Because I think she had a pretty interesting question when he asked her what to do when you encounter the Gorn. If we're these, humanitarian folks that we say we are, non-militaristic folks that we say we are, she has some pretty harsh feelings about the Gorn. What are your thoughts on her reaction to that question?
Totally understandable. And I mean, if you want to present that to what she said, and I'm talking in universe now, if you're going to show that documentary to people, you have to give the context or you're being disingenuous. Because you can't say, oh, well, why are you out here? Oh, would you use your weapons on the Gorn? You would. That doesn't seem okay. The Gorn murdered my whole family, dude.
Yeah.
And they've murdered lots of people. So yeah, I would shoot them if I had to.
Yeah. Will Grace makes an excellent point here about the Enterprise, or on the show Enterprise. Them going out with not many weapons, but they got messed up. Yeah, in the early days, man, it's you have to arm yourself. You have to arm yourself, man. You have to.
Archer then went out there and just was like, yeah, man, yeah, we're in space, warp 5 engine. No, we need bigger guns. We need bigger guns. This isn't working.
Yeah, man. Any additional takeaways from this episode as we kind of bring this one in and wrap this up, man?
I love how they talk to the creature. I mean, this was, I had to say that, this was reminiscent of Devil in the Dark.
Somebody else mentioned that.
It was
in Tasha's chat. Yeah.
It was reminiscent of that. It's like, this isn't the first time we've done an episode like this in Star Trek. I don't know. We had the one that Jake did where he was going around interviewing everybody. So we've done this before. But
not
maybe
so stylistically though.
Yeah,
I think there's no other Star Trek episode that looks like this. None that I can recall.
Well, not that good, but I'm saying the same thing wanted to what Starfleet like and what do you do but you know what my biggest thing was though is
what's that?
I didn't see the prolonged sorrow. Like I want to see more. So I don't want to see people hop skipping off. And Star Trek, that's the problem that every Star Trek show has had for years. And I've always said that we show the aftermath of things.
Well, that was a result of it being more, show of the week, episode more episodic in that aspect than those days. But I think now it's a little bit more. I mean, I think that's one of the problems. It's a little more wait till what goes on, and I think that's what a lot of people don't like. You don't think so?
It's hard to say on that one for me because, like I said, I want to see, like in the last episode, Paul Wesley killed in his career when he found out and had to deal with, oh my God, I just killed thousands of people, and that was not my intention. My intention was to save the lives of the Enterprise crew.
Yeah.
And I wanted to see something like this, like, they felt bad for the creature, but also you got to feel bad for these people that are getting jacked up pretty bad too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what would you do if you had one thing that could help you save, your family or your community, and you have these other people like, oh, you can't use that.
Yeah, you would probably use it. I mean, let's be totally honest. It probably wouldn't be, because someone could say it wouldn't be moral. Yeah, man, that's easy for you to say because you're not going through what I'm going through.
Yeah. Yeah.
But still, again, there's a line. I mean, the Federation, we pulled back. And again, DS9 did it best. Let's just be honest. We pulled back and said, okay, we're going to fight the founders and the Dominion, and we're not going to do what Section 31 tried to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
when Grace makes a comment about if this had been TOS, we just tell a joke at the end, we get a laugh and it'll be over. They did that a lot. They did it almost every episode. Yeah.
That was for a lot, Grace, that was a lot of TV shows for the day. It's just like how you have the hero cop and he goes out and he has to shoot the bad guy, and then he's back at the station like, good job. No emotion.
I have to say, I did not like how Beto was using Uhura in this episode as well.
Nobody liked it.
I was like, what?
Like, does he really like her, or
has this all been a game?
Because he probably figures she's an ensign, so she's an easy mark.
She checked him, though. But, man, that ticked me hard. That ticked me off, bro. I was like, bro.
You know what they never did? I felt they never truly fleshed out why he felt this way about Starfleet. And they just go, it's because they took your sister, and their parents are dead, right?
I assume so. We got a lot of, and I wanted to get to this actually. I'm glad you mentioned it. We got a lot of family pictures in this episode. We got one of Uhura and her family. We got Ortegas and her family. And also we got, maybe for the first time, we got to see a lot of different quarters in this episode. And I love Ortegas' quarters. I think they're the best. She's in there building stuff.
It's her. It's her, no doubt about it. And, I think Melissa Navi, who plays Ortegas. Yeah. Am I saying her name right, or am I butchering?
Navia, I think. Navia. You might be saying it right.
Melissa Navi. They used a real picture, because that was definitely her as a little kid in that photo.
Yep. That was some good stuff. But yeah, they tried to pose that the reason Beto was doing this is because he was hurt that Erica had to go leave and fight in a war. I'm like, okay.
That was kind of a flimsy.
Very much so. Very much so, man.
I would have rather you made him out to be kind of like he turned out to just be a naive jerk instead of just a jerk.
Yeah, for sure. Then we got the quintessential Pike is cooking scenes in this episode, which I'm here for it.
Yeah, what's going on with the replicators, man?
Hey, there were some cubes in there. I saw number one eating some cubes somewhere in here. Oh yeah, there you go. See, we got on a tray here.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that. You know why they did that?
Why is that?
That was a Journey to Babel.
Oh yeah, for sure.
There was this weird scene where these two little people, and they're green, like I don't know if they're from the planet Oz or something, Wizard of Oz. And they get their drink, and they put these little square things in it, and I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's funny. It's hilarious. Yeah, man. With that, I guess we'll kind of wrap here. Pike playing a little ukulele at the end.
What's Spock doing drinking? The Vulcans didn't consume alcohol.
As he stated in this episode, he's half human. I feel like we've heard 8 different stories of how Spock was tortured as a kid. We keep We keep getting more and
You
more
know
stories.
what? I was going to avoid that one, but yeah, because it was like, yeah, and children made fun of me. And it's like, see, I don't think Spock would even talk about that.
Yeah.
He might talk. Michael knows wherever she's 800, 900 years in the future. But I don't think Spock would just. This is sharing. This Spock likes to share.
Yeah. I'm here for it, quite frankly.
I think Spock would be like, so what was your experience? Yeah, man, people hate me because I was half human and it sucked.
So I have one other question. Have you heard any scuttlebutt online about this episode? Because I've kind of stayed away. I have really.
There's been some people who haven't been too happy. You know, people are saying, you know, it resembles some stuff that could be, even though this episode was written well in advance of things that are going on right now. There's a few people trying to say it's representing some real life things that are going on, and I don't think it is. This isn't the first episode Star Trek has done like that. So
not at all. I mean, we've had episodes where they're questioning themselves. That's what Section 31 is. They're questioning themselves for the majority of those episodes.
Section 31 is such a trip, man.
Yeah.
They're just that's why I always say that is one of that and the Borg are two of the greatest creations in Star Trek. But if you overuse either one of them, it gets boring.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, we talk about this Jikaru and the fate of these Khazar and these Lutani people. Janeway stranded her whole crew in the Delta Quadrant because she didn't want to do a certain thing to get back home. So
and she killed Tuvix.
Yeah, she killed Tuvix. Don't
forget that, sir. In your Janeway praising.
Yeah.
You know, there are still people who are mad about that. I was like,
hard decisions, man.
That is a horrible, but it is a TV show. Let's put pause on it. Tuvix didn't really die. The actor is fine. I've seen him on a bunch of stuff.
Indeed. All right. All right, guys. That's going to be it for today. Any other takeaways? Anything you want to shout out before we kind of head out of here? Star Trek related otherwise?
Yes. One cool thing is I heard an interview with Robert Picardo. It was on a Canadian streaming channel. And I think it's probably towards the end of when they were finishing Starfleet Academy. And it was a great interview. Robert Picardo is like he likes Star Trek. He really embraces the fans. And there's one they asked him about, he said new people coming into it. He said even on the set of Starfleet Academy, people are asking, what's it like? And he said, well, man, you get to go places, you get to meet awesome people who love you, love your work, and you get to tell them about making that work. He said, now that doesn't sound so bad, does it? Because some people are afraid, you know, they might see it as a negative or whatever. He also talked about how he got into Starfleet Academy, how they called him and said, look, we're thinking about bringing the doctor back. And he said he knew for a long time. And he had to sit on, because he said, we have to sign these NDAs, which we know. But he said, I had to sit on it a really long time before I could say anything. And he said, so when you go to your crew, because he was talked about being on the Trek cruises and all the conventions.
Yeah. Wow.
And it was just a well interview, but he was just giving a little insight on the Starfleet Academy. And he said, I don't think I said anything I'm not supposed to say.
Yeah, it's got to be tough to be a character who's not supposed to age. I think of him. I think of Brent Spiner. Because for many years, I've heard him talking about coming back and saying that, you know, he has looked the same, so he probably wouldn't come back. But I'm glad that he's going to be in Academy. I'm
I
really
want to
excited
toss
about
one
it.
other thing out here. And this goes out to Wing Grace and anybody else out there. This question. I'm not throwing this out here because I want Starfleet Academy to stand on its own feet. But I can't resist myself. He's got in his memory banks all the stuff that happened over the last 800 years. So we could actually have a cameo from members of Voyager, like as he's telling a story.
Yeah.
And we could have them as they look today.
Yes.
Because he would remember them. He has that in his memory banks.
Have an entire flashback episode. That would be awesome. I'm just saying,
I know that's horrible.
It's not horrible. I want it to happen. What are you talking about?
But I want the new show to be a success for it. But I just couldn't help myself. I went, we could have Kate Mulgrew on here right now.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we're going to wrap it. Thanks to each of you guys for joining us. It's been a fun talk. And I can't wait to see what comes next. 4.5 Vulcans. That's next, right? Man, the season is going to be over before we know it, man.
I know, man. And like I said, we kind of the first few episodes, I didn't hate, not a hater, but I feel like now we're getting into the meat of the season.
I think I've largely enjoyed this season. I mean, I can see why people wouldn't be loving a lot of it for sure.
It's not bad, but
it's not bad. It's just not hitting it out the park, maybe like a lot of us expect. But largely, I think I've enjoyed it. It seems like a bunch of gimmicky episodes, which we can debate that, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. This episode, like a lot of the others this season, definitely we're doing something a lot different than our normal Star Trek episodes. So we'll see how the rest of the season rounds out and how they set us up for season 4.
I want to say hi to Kyle. Miss you.
Yeah, Kyle, come back, man. Come back. We had a TARDIS in a Star Trek episode and you weren't here for it. Okay, we're done. All right, guys, have a good night.
You've been listening to the Discussing Network. Find out more at discussingnetwork.com.
Can I say that like shut up Wesley? I can just go shut up Clarence?